That we are covering a topic this morning in the VFS history meeting of a vertical flight heritage site that was recently recognized, and Mike Hirschberg and Paul Fardink have experience with that site, and they're going to share with us today what they learned. So over to Paul Fardink first.
Okay, there are a lot of details in this presentation, but I'm just going to hit some of the highlights, hopefully just the highlights, because I have 15 minutes and you might give me a 5-minute warning, Bob, okay? If I start talking too much. But anyhow, this article originally appeared in Vertiflight, September, October 2021. And everything I'm talking about is in this article, okay? And again, it's based on the nomination that I did for the Culver City plant. Okay, you might be asking, where's Culver City? And you can see the little red arrow there, Culver City. It's in Los Angeles, and it's closer to the ocean. It's over on the west side. Okay, and when Howard Hughes bought this property, it hadn't really been incorporated yet, the county, and he basically began in 1947, and he was really into the fixed wing back then. And it was after 55, it became the Hughes Tool Company. And then you can see the rest of it where it went into Hughes helicopters, et cetera, et cetera. And eventually purchased by McDonnell Douglas Helicopter Systems in 84 and merged with Boeing in 97. Okay. Here is the interesting photo from the 1960s. You can see the runway there, building 15. Can you see my pointer there, Bob, moving around?
Yes, we do.
There's building 15 where the heritage site occurred. And it's got the twin roofs, and it just showed you the layout. That was a 2-mile runway, the longest private runway in the world at the time. That strip was. He was 34 years old when he bought 380 acres for $500,000. Okay. And like I said, it was just west of the unincorporated Los Angeles County land. And when he built the Hughes aircraft plant, it became fully operational in 1941. It contained 60,000 square feet of floor space and several buildings. Okay, here's building 15 under construction in 1943. Known as Building 14, it was gigantic, 315,000 square foot, 750 feet long, 250 foot wide, 75 foot high. Why was it built? To accommodate the HK-1, that Hercules flying boat joint venture with industrialist Henry Kaiser. Okay, and that's all I'm going to say about the Spruce Goose here, which he just detested that name, Hughes did. It was made of birch, not spruce. Anyhow, here's a 1947 of the rollout of the Hughes HK-1 Hercules flying boat. Okay.
Hey, stay on. Go back to that picture for just a second.
Yeah.
I'll show pictures of the hangar today. Well, 6 months ago. You can see the pointy part of the roof there, and then the flat part of the building where the hangars were. So you'll see that picture. The doors don't open anymore, but you'll see that the modern. This is now a parking lot, so you'll see pictures from the parking lot of that building of that.
Okay.
That, well,
Okay. Obviously, Howard Hughes wanted to get his engineers into helicopters. So he purchased that XH-17 in 1949. The first flight, as it shows, in October of 52. Where'd it come from? Kill it, over there in the Philadelphia area, who was having financial problems, and they sold it to Hughes for $250K. And it was basically disassembled and shipped out to Culver City. What's interesting is the HK-17 was really a smorgasbord of parts, if you will. You can see glider parts, landing gear from a B-25 and C-54, Bombay fuel tank from a B-29. What's interesting about this was 130-foot diameter, rotor diameter, two-bladed rotor, a 6-foot cord, just incredible. And, it was basically pressure jet powered at the tips of the rotor. Okay. This photo is very interesting to me. Sorry about the clarity of it, but you see this photo periodically. October 1952, and there's Howard Hughes standing there with the team working on the helicopter. Back in the early 90s, I wrote a series, 6 papers on the founding fathers of the American helicopter industry. The folks who had helicopters go into production. And one of those, obviously, was Hughes. And I had to coordinate with Ray Prouty because, as you all know, Ray Prouty was a real icon in the helicopter industry. And he was the former chief of handling qualities and analysis for Hughes helicopters. And when Ray saw this photo, quote, Hughes witnessed the first flight of the XH-17 in October 1952, but after that was never again seen at his helicopter factory. Howard Hughes had paid close attention to the technical details of his fixed-wing aircraft, but he left his helicopter engineers strictly on their own. And he thought that was a good thing, Ray did. So for what that's worth. Here we are inside the building 15, and you can see the prototype in the back, and there's an XH-28 mock-up in the rear. Okay, this is inside that building 15. Okay, here's the mock-up of the XH-28. What was that all about? Well, the Army put out a RFP for a flying crane, being able to lift vehicles up to 20 tons. This also was going to use a pressure jet system. It was quite an aircraft, but it never went into production. Why? Because of cutbacks. This was the end of the Korean War. And like most wars, when they end, R&D gets cut. Okay. That was followed by the Hughes XV-9A. That's the hot cycle experimental helicopter. Here it is being flown by test pilot Bob Ferry over Marina Del Rey. Later on, they're going to have to move all their test flying, especially with the Apaches, out of Culver City because it was so close to LAX, the main airport, and it really interfered with traffic patterns. But you can see another hot cycle experimental helicopter. And here's just some data on that. It was through the U.S. Army research contract. And again, looking at hot cycle propulsion. Okay. Problem was, like a lot of these hot cycle, fuel consumption was just something else, and the noise was just something else too. You're pretty loud. Here's one of my favorite little helicopters, the Model 269, known as the Army's TH-55, in production in Building 15. The Army bought a lot of these. Obviously, that rotor system was not a Hughes design. It came elsewhere. First flight was in October of 56, 2,900 variants. I mentioned earlier, it's a TH-55 Osage with 792 of those delivered to the Army. It's its basic trainer. I personally have about 108 hours, obviously, when I went through flight school in this helicopter. Okay, there's the first flight of the prototype. Okay. And my IP at flight school said, if you can fly this little helicopter, the twist grip throttle, just like you were talking about earlier, Mike, you can fly anything. And after 20 years flying various Army helicopters, I have to agree with him. Here's the Army's OH-6A. Again, affectionately today called the Little Bird by our soft community. Okay, again, in production in Building 15. Boy, there's a whole paper could be written about this aircraft and this helicopter when it went through, especially on the second buy of that, because Howard Hughes had basically bought his way into the competition with that. He really gave the Army a low price on that first selection, but when it came around for the second one, he just raised the price just too much, and the Bell OH-58 became the Army's Loach. Okay, but it did serve in Vietnam, and today it's still a favorite of the special operations community. And what's happened to the OH-58? Yeah, gone. Here's the production line again, another look at it in 1968. At the peak, over 100 OH-6As were being built for the Army a month. Again, this is during Vietnam. Today it's known as, the 300, 500 OH-6 models. Here is the first mock-up of the Hughes helicopter Model 77, which became the Apache AH-64. It's interesting because if you look at the wing stores there, those are TOW missile launchers. Originally, it was going to carry the TOW missile, not the Hellfire, as you see today. But that TOW caused all kinds of problems being optically guided. Okay, but that's a picture. Here's the maiden flight of the YAH-64. It's one of the prototypes. And again, they're at Carlsbad now. And just some data on the Model 77 that was developed by Hughes to replace the Army's AH-1 Cobra. First flown September 75. And again, you know, as you all know, it was selected over the Bell YH-63 and 76. And it's probably one of the world's premier attack helicopters. Okay. Here is a picture of the Hughes Culver City facility in 1977. And again, there's the Pacific Ocean off in the distance there. That's how close it was to the ocean. Okay. Keep this photograph in mind because I'll show you a photograph later on of what became of that. In 84, the trustees of Howard Hughes Estate, he'd passed away in 1976. But obviously, as you all know, it became Hughes Helicopter, became McDonnell Douglas Helicopters for a brief period there before it became Boeing. I can remember it being in the Army at the time that a lot of the pilots, you know, changed the name when it went to McDonnell Douglas to the Big Mac attack. Do you get it? Anyhow, last aircraft taxied down the runway in 1985. And the Culver City did continue to produce components for the Apache until it was shut down in the 1990s. Again, all that production, you know, was moved to Arizona. How am I doing on time there, Bob?
You are 2 more minutes if you want to stick to your 15.
Yep, I will stick to my 15. Here you see there's building 15. This is in 2015. Gone is the runway. Gone is a lot of the facility. You know, you're looking at some prime Los Angeles real estate. And this is what happened to it. Okay.
Just want to interject. So those buildings that are right next to the big parking lot, kind of at the bottom, sort of off the left. That was that first building. Yeah, that one there. I think it's building 2 or building 3.
Yeah.
I think that's where the engineers were. And I drove in. I tried to drive into that parking lot, and I got a picture of the front of that building.
Yep.
See at the
You're exactly right. In 1984, when I'd visit Culver City as part of the Army's LHX Apache team there, that's where we'd meet in those buildings. It's where their big conference room was, and the engineers were, I think they were in a back building. I'm not sure. But yeah, good point. I don't know. What's there today? Do you know?
It's somebody else. And I when I was there in 2022, I took some pictures, but I don't remember.
Yeah. Okay. He's going to talk about this, but I just want to just mention a couple things here. Is that 269 still sitting outside the building there?
It is. It is. I found it this time. I couldn't find it before. I have a bunch.
Yeah.
Because a lot of these the parking lots are blocked off by, you know, electronic access only. So I couldn't drive there, but I took a long walk and I got there.
Yeah. I just like to mention two other things real quick. Boy, if you're really interested in Howard Hughes's whirlybirds, as Don Porter called them, he wrote a great book. It goes into a lot of Hughes history. Okay. And Donald Porter talked to our committee. What was that, Bob? Probably 6, 7 years ago
Yeah,
now.
it's been a while. Yep.
Yeah, but he gave a great presentation. Okay. And there's one other, you know, again, there were various people that ran Hughes Helicopter. And during the Apache days, this is the gentleman I talked to most of the time, you know, in the history was Jack Reel, because he was really kind of running things there. And he also wrote a book on the asylum of Howard Hughes. He was really close to Howard Hughes right up till the end there. And that's kind of an interesting book, too.
There was a Vertify article maybe 20 years ago that I'll think of his name, Hal Klopper at Mesa wrote an article about Jack Reel and how he was managing you know, I think he was managing like 2 companies at once. He was helping Howard Hughes, and he was also the president of, or he was also in charge of Lockheed or something. I forget what it was,
Yeah.
but anyway, it is an interesting Vertiflight article.
Yeah. Okay, I'll stop sharing. That's what I had, Bob. Okay.
All right. Thank you, Paul. That was great. And Mike, I'm going to make you co-host now.
Okay, so first I'm going to show. Hasn't I haven't gotten permission. There we go. First I'm going to show. So I was there. Okay, so I was there in it was April 4th of this year. I was there for a conference, and this is our hydrogen conference, and I arranged um, the vertical flight heritage site. That's no good. Let's see. Can you still see the?
Here we see the picture and your and the notes there.
I'm not sure why it's. Anyway, okay. So we did the unveiling of the plaque. And so while I was there, I got a tour by the facility manager, David Gonzalez there. So here we are. These are not my photos because I'm in it. But I made a brochure. You can see my hand. That's based on what I basically took Paul's article or his nomination, whatever it was, and I put a cover on it. But I handed those out, made a bunch of copies. So here you can see the Spruce Goose hangar with the big G for Google on there. Anyway, so there's the plaque. And in the plaque, I actually honored, and I don't think I have a close-up of the text. Here are the facilities folks that were there, some of the Googlers. But I actually honored a little more than Building 15 because, as engineers, I wanted to honor the engineering work too. So I just called it the Culver City plant. And I mentioned some of the other things. So again, kind of as Paul mentioned, it's called Culver City because that was like the nearest post office. It's in LA, and that area is now called Playa Vista, but so it's not actually in Culver City. But as Paul mentioned, it's an unincorporated part of LA. So I'm going to share my pictures. I had about 200. I cut it down to 80. I'm just going to go through really quickly, but you're welcome to ask any questions. So I do take pictures sometimes when I'm driving. Please don't do that. I'm irresponsible. Um,
It's from your dash cam.
Yeah.
no comment. And I just so if you know where Sepulveda Boulevard is, it's in that area. There is a Howard Hughes Parkway. I just looked it up on Google Maps. It's about a mile away as the VTOL flies, or as the Goose flies, but it's about 2 miles away by walking. This is another picture that was taken by my dash cam. So this is entering this area. Here's the hangar. You can see the pointy part there. There's no longer the hangar doors, obviously. And the key point to realize and I'll share these photos with the committee. But the key point to realize is it's two peaks, right? It was built like kind of inspired by a ship's hull, double hull or two hulls next to each other. Anyway, so where I've got the circle there is where the Spruce Goose or the Hercules was rolled out. How do I get to the next? There we go. All right, so this is, dang it. How do I clear that? So this is anyway, so this shows the entrance kind of from a different angle there. Sorry, this is ticking. There we go. So here's again a picture for the ribbon cutting and the unveiling of the plaque. All right, so now we're inside, and these are mainly in the order that I took them, so they're not necessarily the most instructive. But this is inside what they call the Spruce Goose hangar. These are the steps, and I think this black outline shows where the nose of the spruce goose would be. They have, I forget the length, 235 feet. It but this shows that the dark area shows where the nose would be, and on the other side there's a dark spot that shows where the tail would have been. So here we are inside. They look like iron girders, but it's wood. This is a display case with some of the different awards and stuff they got. You see the one we awarded this in 2021 because of the pandemic. We couldn't do it. I actually went there in May of 22, but I think they were maybe it's no, it's June of 21, but they were still on lockdown, so I could hand the the plaque through the door basically. And so this is Howard Hughes in the Hercules, and I think this was it's not a clear picture here, but I think this was the facilities manager or somebody from Google and of course the Spruce Goose now is in Evergreen Aviation Museum near Seattle in the Puget Sound. Okay, here's a better picture here, and here in this plaque, you'll see it says Hughes Helicopter Building 15, but on the bronze plaque, I went a little more expansive. This is a nice saying: if you're not doing some things that are crazy, then you're doing the wrong things. This is the point, and these different colors show the directions to the different parts of the building. Because they're so big, you need a compass or a map or lines to be able to find things. These are silver balls on silver cables, and if you look at it at this angle, it's the Spruce Goose. But you have to be standing on that spot, or it just looks like a bunch of balls. Anyway, this is me for scale. And then I think it's I think the right side is, I think the right side is no, the left side is the keel between the two hulls. But you can see, it was this vast open area, and now it's not. This is Google, obviously. So this is the Google Android icon. And there's a lot of googly things here. Here's some more pictures. This, I don't remember specifically. I think this is maybe the color it was really originally painted that they left. And then when they did the restoration, I think they stripped the paint off. But unfortunately, so it was October 4th. So it was, what's that, 8 months ago. So my brain doesn't remember what it should. So this shows like the eating area. This makes it look like a movie screen, and I think maybe because they have a sound stage here. They did some movie filming like Titanic and things like that. So it's sort of like a movie screen. I don't know that there was one here, but it says Google presents Goose Park, copyright 2020 by the Goose. But these are real plants. I mean, they have like full-time people going around watering them and taking care of them all day. So it's a nice environment. Everything's got a Spruce Goose theme. Here's the spruce juice. They had some nice. I took the ginger shot of whatever it was. Here's could be a spruce goose type of thing made out of bolts. Different decorations. This is going out of the goose juice. They've got here's a goose, right, flying. So you can see 3 of them here. So this is on the other side. Okay, 320 feet. You can see I mentioned that this is the tail, where the tail would be for the spruce goose. They have lots and lots and lots of conferences. I think at least 26, because I use every letter of the alphabet. Here's Google Cloud. There's some nice paintings. I didn't get it actually on the other side. There's an entire wall of this painting here. Goes all the way on the other side. You can have dogs there. So here's your Barker Parker. You just park your dog, clip them to the railing there. This is Q, so quail. or one, no, I guess they have more than 26. That's the Quill. This is our rocket. Um, and if you go in, it looks like sort of like the Millennium Falcon where you're jumping to hyperspace and the stars are going back, right? So all the conference rooms have different themes. This is one of the astronauts is doing the lotus meditation position. It's actually the lotus flower. I'd look that up. I think this is I don't remember if this is rocket or someplace else, but I think these are fake because these are PVCs, so they're obviously not carrying electronics. But sort of a futuristic, like Star Trek kind of thing, maybe. All right, so here we were in the blue wing. And you can see these are the conference rooms on floor 3 of the blue ring. So you can see P, Q, here's R for rocket. And then other ways, they have got conference rooms all the way through Z. So I guess this blue wing has everything from D through Z. Anyway, it had lots, all the conference rooms had cute little themes. This is 1980s computers. This was the library, which was at the end. And in the back, you can see this, this is the sound stage where they did like Titanic and some of the other movies. Doesn't look like much, right? It's just an enclosed soundproof stage. There's the word Hercules, so they don't always call it Spruce Goose. This is looking out the window, and it's amazing. There's still a vacant lot there on the northwest side, I guess it is. And again, this, as Paul mentioned, this is just north of LAX. Anyway, so nice atmosphere. These are pretend movies, movie spotlights here. So here's the spruce goose. I mentioned here that the silver the silver balls. It doesn't look like anything if you're not looking at the right angle. There's also this Easter egg here, this golden egg. And I should mention this black area here. This is the visitor control there. But anyway, I don't remember what the Easter egg, but I think there's little treasures everywhere. Yeah, and here are the balls again. Google Wing, now just called Wing, right? That's their drone service. So here are some prototypes they developed for that. Here's some more geese. There's one place. They had an area like for the the movies, and this was like a fake staircase, and I forget if it was a blinking or if you use a flash, you could illuminate Howard Hughes up there. They had different themed little areas. So just walking along, like, oh my God, my mind's blown with all these colors. I had to wear the jacket, but that's just as you're walking. So it's for creativity, right? Free thinking. Yeah, Hell's Angels. I couldn't remember the name of the movie, right? But he did not film this here, but that was I don't think he filmed it here, right? That was earlier, but he didn't. But anyway, there's a little area for his for movies. Some of original artifacts here, as well as later movies that were formed here. I think that's the original Transformers, Titanic, Independence Day. Or yeah, the soundstage. This is really interesting, and again, I'll send these pictures out so you can zoom in to see. But this was a family day, so Hughes employees could come and see what their spouses or what their families were working on. So 8 is where the Spruce Goose was, I guess. So I'm not sure how actually big of an area it took, but. Yeah, Hughes Productions. Oh, yeah, okay, there you go. They did film it here. It says The Outlaw to be released in the fall of 1945. So presumably this is early 45 or maybe 44. Yeah, so they had other airplane stuff here. So I can that might be of interest to you guys. This was again in that same area. There's another picture here. Oh, this is Hollywood Park. Anyway, this is that same picture. I think that that Paul showed, or a similar one.
Yep.
You can see the hangars over here. This is the engineering building, or maybe this is building 1. I don't know. I don't remember a lot. Oh, there's a close up. Okay, so then I left the building. This is the other side. This is the other side. So I had to take a walk. Here's a little pond, there's a duck, there's a path to get to this one. So here's Spruce Park. We're keeping going with it. Of course, there's a Airbus A-Star or a squirrel flying overhead. Another three-bladed rotor. I finally got, and so this used to be a this used to be a YouTube production studio. But there it is, 269. You can see this, and I don't know what it is now. I think, like I said, I think they moved the YouTube studio from there. But it's nicely restored. You can see the windows are starting to get a little crazed there. Took a bunch of pictures.
But Mike, other than our plaque, that everything you've showed, this is the only rotorcraft in the entire place.
Yeah, so it was very interesting. And when I originally was there, I was like, oh, we got to get these guys. I should have invited them, the David Gonzalez, to come to this because they had a lot of good stuff about airplanes, the Spruce Goose and airplanes, but they knew nothing about helicopters. Knew nothing about helicopters, so they were really happy that I sent them the thing that I gave him, Paul's thing. I just want to point out there's a bird sitting up here. So I just
That's an interesting photo there. When you show all those drive belts,
yeah,
a
Yeah.
helicopter had all those drive belts, like what's powering your car, the radiator, fan belts, crazy,
exactly.
crazy.
And this particular Hughes had been an Osage that they converted to a 269 or converted to a civil version. But yeah, I got some close-up pictures if you're interested in it. It's interesting. This is this I guess they call it backstage. And see Google, YouTube. This is back now. I had to get my car, so this is some more pictures of the entrance area. Again, here's the plaque. So thousands of people, or at least hundreds of people, are going to see it every day. They come from that angle. Now I left the building. This is looking across the street. This is they call Hercules South. So this is where the Google stage was, but like I said, I know it was on the other side. Anyway. Then I drove over there to the building 1 or building 3 or whatever it was, but it was all blocked off, so I couldn't get any closer. I think last time I went, I walked over there. But I do have some other pictures. Anyway, I probably also went over time, but I wanted to share those with you. And like I said, if there's I can do some outreach to those folks if we wanted to try and promote the helicopter development work there, see if they're interested in learning more or whatever else. But anyway, any questions?
All right.